My real-life example of next time you need help, call a crackhead. The cops abandoned teenage me in a sketchy area of Atlanta after midnight, so literal crackheads helped me get home safely. Yay old 1998. I was in the L5P area of Atlanta behind the Variety Playhouse with some friends and my new boyfriend. We're all teenagers at the time. They smoke weed and I don't. So before we get out of the car, they all pass around a quickie joint, which I didn't smoke. About 2 minutes later, a cop is pounding on the driver's side window and forces everyone out of the car. Turns out, they'd been watching the whole time and were laughingly disappointed that I hadn't smoked. They weren't interested in stopping a crime or anything. They just wanted to bust as many of us as possible. So everyone except me is in handcuffs on the ground when the wagon pulls up an hour later to cart all of them to jail. It's dark, the parking lot is now empty, and I realized these cops were planning on just leaving me there. I explained that I didn't have a license and begged them to take me. Cell phones weren't a thing at the time. They told me to call a cab. I explained that I lived over an hour away from Atlanta and didn't have that kind of cab fare. They told me to walk. I begged them, crying, to at least drop me off at the store on the corner, and they laughed, told me I wasn't their problem but I could call them back when I needed someone to scrape up what was left of me. L5P was super sketchy after dark back then. My boyfriend was crying and had me grab the keys out of his pocket while the others were screaming directions home through the door of the wagon. And then I was alone. A literal crackhead prostitute lady found me and walked with me up to the store, where I tried to use their busted payphone. She hung out with me and chased off all the creeps who were soliciting me. We sat on the corner for a while until another cracked out dude wandered up, asking when Marta started up again. It's like 2 in the morning, and Marta doesn't run for a few more hours. When he realizes I have a car, he tells me he's staying at a place right next to I-85, and if I can drop him off, he can show me how to get home. He pumped gas for me, because I never had, and I drove with my door partially cracked open just in case he tried anything, but he didn't. I dropped him off, the interstate was literally across the street, and I managed to drive home on my own even though I didn't have a license and had never driven such a long distance on my own before. So now, when people tell you to call a crackhead instead of the cops next time you need help, I have a perfect example of how crackheads were actually more helpful than cops.